Hi, today I'm going to talk to you about making your own deer jerky. If you're into hunting or fishing or anything like that, or just trying new things, then this is a great way to get started. It's a great recipe. To get started on this basic project, you're going to need your materials. Your materials are going to be obviously deer meat, along with a multi-tray dehydrator, a mixing bowl with saran wrap, along with your marinades and spices to your taste preference. You're also going to need cure to make sure we take out any bacteria that's not wanted in the deer meat. After you've gathered all of your materials, then we're going to move on to the slicing process. Now in the slicing process, you're going to take your deer meat, and it can be done in two ways according to freevenisonrecipes.com. It can be cut with the grain, which can make it a little bit harder to chew or to break off, but it will hold its shape quite well if you're trying to impress somebody at your final product. Now, it can be cut against the grain to make it easier to chew or to bite off, but it might lose its shape a little bit through the drying process. Now, after we've done all of our slicing, then we're going to move on to the marinating process. Now, the marinating, you're going to need the mixing bowl along with the slices of meats and your marinades, spices, and cure. Take the mixing bowl. First we're going to mix in our liquid marinades first. Whichever marinades you decide, make sure we add enough that'll cover the meat that we're putting into the bowl. After you've gotten all the liquids poured in, make sure we stir them up pretty well, and then add our dry ingredients like spices or anything like that you might want to put in there, along with our cure. Mix that real well, and then we're going to pour in our strips of deer meat. After you pour in your strips of deer meat, you're going to want to mix that up real thoroughly with your hands to make sure we cover up all of the deer meat, make sure it all gets soaked and marinated at the same time. After everything is soaked and underneath the marinade, we're going to put saran wrap over the top of our bowl and put it into the refrigerator overnight. Now, coming back to it the next day, you're going to pull it out and you're going to have your dehydrator sitting there. Take the strips and space them about an inch apart on each tray, filling up each tray completely. After you filled up the trays, then you're going to put the top on it and start the dehydrator at a medium to low temperature. This is because we don't want to dry it out too quick. Now if you have a dehydrator but it doesn't have different settings, then you're going to want to watch your meat a little bit closer. After you've turned on the dehydrator, then you can go on about your day-to-day business pretty easily. You want to check it about every 8 to 10 hours and switch the trays around to make sure everything is getting dried at the same rate and getting dried thoroughly. After the first day of dehydrating, you're going to want to keep a little bit closer eye on it to make sure it doesn't over dry or dry too quickly. Now on that second day, it ought to be getting pretty close to being done. You'll know when it's done. It'll feel leathery and completely dry according to allfooddehydrators.com. Once it's completely dry, you're going to pull it off and allow it to cool to room temperature. After it's cooled to room temperature, then you can enjoy the deer jerky that you've just made. Hopefully you use the right spices to your taste preference to where you like it. Now any uneaten deer jerky you're going to want to store in an airtight Ziploc baggie, or obviously a container that'll hold air quite well. And this pretty much wraps up how you're going to do your jerky. Now to go back over the steps, you're going to need to gather materials such as your deer meat, your mixing bowl, dehydrator, and your marinades and spices along with cure. Your second step obviously is going to be marinating. That's putting all your marinades together and making sure we soak our meat quite well. Third step is going to be the dehydration process. After you dehydrate everything, it'll dry completely out and you'll be ready to eat. That right there pretty much sums up your deer jerky.